Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're doing absolutely fine. Do you know research across 160,000 projects and 50,000 agile teams found when team members were 95% dedicated to an agile team, their productivity doubled compared to teams in which members were only 50% dedicated? Do you know agile is one of those skill sets which is required by 93% of companies in today? And that is not something which I am telling, that's something which is according to a Forbes report. So, why is that agile is so very required in each and every aspect of job sector or the industry or the business today? Now, you must have definitely heard of people becoming scrum masters, becoming product owners. Now, these are certain roles which are defined by agile. And today's series that we are going to start is totally on agile. So, we will be discussing everything from the beginner level to the expert level. In today's video, it will be mostly about giving an overview of what is agile, what are the different aspects of it, and to in order to grow yourself in terms of becoming an agile project manager or an agile coach or a scrum master or a product owner, what are those few things or the few values you need to understand and remember if you need to really thrive in this particular field? So stay till the end, watch the entire video, and please keep a pen and paper to note down the most important points, because these videos are going to be full of pointers which are going to help you in every interview or any interview you go for. But before that, please subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon to stay updated. Let us know what your experience has been with Agile. If you have worked, or maybe you just have read the theory, let us know in the comment section below and we'll help you get your next job. So as I always say, let's get started. Welcome back, guys. So let us first discuss what is the agenda for today's meeting. So we're going to start with traditional software development. We are going to understand how usually software development has been since past few decades. Post which we are going to understand what is agile, what are the different agile methodologies, what is the difference between agile and waterfall. Then we are going to discuss about Agile Manifesto. I know Agile Manifesto is a topic in itself, and I will be definitely taking a different session on that. But today we will be giving a brief overview of what Agile Manifesto is. Then we are going to discuss about Agile Principles, which is very required before you begin your journey into Agile, because if you are aware of those principles, definitely half of your work is already done. And then you can go deep into the technicalities of Agile project management, where you're going to understand how a project is managed or a project is run by the Agile principles. So let's get started. So the first topic that we are going to discuss is traditional software development. There are some things which, a project manager or a project or a company always wishes to be true, but these things are never true. Trust me. Number one, developers never build the product on their own. They need to be guided. Customers never know the actual need. You need to tell them what they need, because that only happens once they sit and discuss with you, analyze with you. So they don't know what they actually need. And changes always happen during the progress of a project. There is no project in the world where changes have not occurred. So these three situations which I mentioned over here are too good to be true. They never happen. Okay. Then now that we know that life is not proper, and projects are never they operate in an ideal fashion, so let's head on to some real facts. So what the ground reality tells us is customer discover their actual need during the project. So as the project proceeds, customers slowly they discover about their actual need. Developers come upon a way to build it iteratively. Now what does that mean is, as they start building the product, then they realize what are the challenges, and then they try to rectify those challenges or build solutions for those challenges, and that is how they learn that initially the plan that was made, that is not the ideal plan, and there are many bits and diversions into it in order to achieve the final product. Changes are almost inevitable. That means changes are always right. Now, what was happening in the current software development, or the software development that was happening in past few decades, ever since it has started, is waterfall methodology. Now, in waterfall methodology, it was like a one-way process where you start with the planning phase. Then once the planning is done, then you analyze it. Analysis is followed by design, where you design the overall architecture, how the overall flow or the overall functionality that is supposed to be created will work. Once that flow is decided, then comes a phase where you build the product. Build, that is, or development, is followed by testing the product, or the QA, quality assurance, that is done, which is followed by deployment. Now, the deployment happens into the production environment. Now, once the deployment is done, that is followed by maintenance. Now, maintenance means the support team. Now, here the support team comes in, where once you deploy the product into the production environment, that is when the support team's role come and they manage incidents. Now, all these terms what I'm talking of, I'm sure many of you who are already working in the IT product development already know. And this is something which is not just applicable to IT, it is applicable to many different areas, starting from automobile sector. Everywhere this is the same way it is done, right? It is not just about code building, it is also about product building. Okay, now what are the features of this particular model? Number one, it's a waterfall methodology is a step-by-step process. Now all the steps have to be defined in order to start it. Okay, requirements are fixed, so the moment you end the planning phase, you are basically doing nothing but you are freezing the requirements. So requirements are fixed means changes are not allowed, even if there might be a requirement of change requirement coming in, but they are not allowed. High level of transparency, visibility, and flexibility. Why? Because you have a clear cut way of where are you heading to, and when are you going to achieve the goal. Flexible timelines means in most of the cases deadline got extended. That means um, it, it often happens that whatever deadline you would have imagined is not met, and you have to overshoot. So the most important thing which I feel amongst all these things is that low level of client interaction, especially in the planning and deployment phases. Now, the major drawback I feel in waterfall methodology is that when you're not interacting with the client, you don't know how your product is getting built, because they are the ones who have given you the requirements. They are the ones who can best validate whether we are doing what they want from us, right? And they are coming into picture only after months of our effort being put in developing that particular product. And when that happens, it becomes really difficult to understand whether we have actually met their needs or not. So I think this is some point which acts as a major drawback for waterfall. Now we will be talking about what are the major differences and the drawbacks in subsequent time. So let's stick to that. The last point is 100% delivery during the deployment phase. Now, during the deployment phase, the entire product is deployed into the production environment. Now, what happens then is you are totally not aware of whether your solution is going to work or not till that moment. That means if there is a project which is spanning 6 months, then you are not certain about it will work or not till the 6 month ends and the product goes live. So that is how waterfall has been since many decades. Okay. Now these are certain limitations which I was already talking about, and we can discuss it here as well. First is changes are not allowed. So since changes are not allowed, you are, let's say, you have fixed or frozen a certain requirement, but now you as a customer wants to change, right? But since the work is already half done, and now you want to change things, it will create a mess. So usually during waterfall, changes are not allowed. Client wants more interaction in middle phases, especially analysis, design, developing, and testing. So as I said, client involvement is a must. Here you don't get that chance because clients are only involved during the planning phase and once the product is developed. So that is, these are the two phases when clients are involved. So by the time the effort, the time, the cost, everything is already utilized or consumed. Okay. Project timeline should not be extended in any circumstances. Now see, this is an ideal situation, right? So which, as you all know, that it rarely occurs because the maximum time project timeline is extended. Okay. um, Client doesn't get to see the product till it is finally developed. That means if it's a 6 months project, then client doesn't get a chance to see how the product looks like after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. They only see it once it is totally developed, and there are chances that the product that is developed is not matching to what the client actual requirement is. Product quality is low due to just one round of testing. Okay. Product quality, as you know, as I said, since there is less interaction, so definitely you're not getting much feedback from the client. That's the reason the overall product quality is really low and it requires much changes. And um, most importantly, you know what happens is, when you have a waterfall model project, let's say it's a 6 months project, in 6 months technology change, in 6 months the market also change. So by the time the product is finally developed, you'll realize that your product is already outdated in the market. So there are many downsides of this particular process. Okay. Next is client assessment of risk and issue is low across all phases. So since there is no one to evaluate you, there is no review that is happening with the client. So that's the reason there is less assessment of risk. So, and many a times what happens is the risk is identified only at the final stage. By the time your entire cost and your entire efforts, everything is already utilized. So it creates a bad image in front of your client. Team members follows the directive approach from project manager and their respective team leaders. So here it's the process is a bit hierarchical. So how it works is, usually there is a project manager and there are their team leads, and there is a technical team who basically follow them. That is how the architecture is. There is no ownership of the product that is involved over here. So these are certain list of limitations which waterfall has. Okay. Now, now that we have discussed about traditional software development, it's time we also should understand how agile actually came in and how agile made this big difference in the overall, I would say, product development market. Okay. Let's head on to the next state and the main topic of our day, that is understanding what is agile. Now, as you know, agile methodology is an alternative to traditional waterfall project management methodology typically used in software development. It helps teams respond to unpredictably through incremental iterative work cadences known as sprints. Now, as I said, and as you would have already understood, that agile methodology is something which was initially designed for software development, but today, if you see, you go to any sector, whether it be automobile sector, whether it be supply chain sector, FMCG, you'll see that everywhere agile has been used or is currently being used for helping them streamline their product development, and it's of much utilization. So as you can see in this figure, that normally what happens is, as I was telling you, that in case of a normal waterfall model, As you can see, after the planning phase is over here, right? Planning is done, and then product is developed. This is the final stage in case of waterfall. But in case of agile, things are very different. Let's say there is a 6 months project, so it is divided into 6 different iterations, 1 month each. Okay, in the first month, you define, you design, you code, you test. Then you come back to the customer, to your client, you review with them, and according to their feedback, you adjust. Then again, you go back to the iteration 2, you again define, you again design, you again code, and you again test. Again, you review with the customer, and again, you adjust or make changes accordingly. Now, what happens is, due to this continuous feedback process, your product is getting developed at a faster rate and at a much easier process. So that is the best thing that happens in case whenever in case of agile, right? So you have continuous feedback process, and using that feedback, you are continuously um, reorganizing or adjusting your overall design, overall code, overall process. And that is how, when you come to the end of the iteration 6, the final product that is designed or that is developed is a product that is absolutely as per the customer's requirement, because this product is designed after taking feedback from the customer himself. Okay, so now heading to the next topic, that is, we will understand what are the different agile methodologies that are currently used in the market. Okay, now these are a few of the methodologies. There are other as well, but out of these 6, the most used initially are Scrum, Kanban, and XP. These are some methodologies which are majorly used. Scrum is one of those which is almost 85% of projects or across globe use Scrum, and then there are certain projects which use XP, which is extreme programming, and Kanban as well. But there are also, I will say, there are also many projects which use hybrid. I would say most of them use hybrid, where they completely follow Scrum and they include some hints of XP and Kanban. Now, what is XP, what is Scrum, what is Kanban, and the details about it, definitely we are going to have sessions on them as well in the upcoming weeks. So please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so that the moment I upload the videos, you will be getting notified about them, and you'll be able to watch it and use it for your knowledge reference. Now, what are the key aspects of Agile? Number 1, self-organizing, cross-functional teams that make and meet commitments. Now, as I said, in Waterfall, the major thing which we had seen, that usually there is one leader and there are teams who are following. Here, the team is self-organizing. That means there are teams which are created, and these teams have the requisite set of requirements that is required for delivering that project. Now, these teams have developers, have testers, have support people, and also cross-functional. There are people who can develop and test, which we know STAT roles profiles we have, software development and testing roles. So definitely those are some kind of, definitely these are certain attributes of Agile where the teams are cross-functional, and that is the reason they are able to make and meet commitments properly. They don't need a leader, they can do it on their own. Frequent inspect and adapt cycles that minimize waste. Now, as I said, that there is continuous feedback happening during this process. Now, when there is continuous feedback happening, definitely there will be continuous inspect and adapt. So you're inspecting and you're adapting your product according to the response. The third most important aspect is engineering practices that rapidly deliver high quality software. Now, when you have these kind of culture where the teams are evolving, the teams are learning, and you having continuous feedback process, so that is when you create high quality software. Now, next, I have already discussed about most of the advantages, but let's get a view of how the overall advantages look like. Number one, team empowerment. That is, the team is empowered. They can take their own decisions, can easily accept change. As we were discussing, that changes cannot happen. But here, since you are continuously taking feedback from the customer and you are continuously making changes, you, in case in the middle of the overall development process, in case there is a new change that comes in, we can easily accept that change. No scope creep. Scope creep means that, let's say there is a particular scope defined for a particular sprint, and you want to put in some extra items, or some new change request has come in. So in that case, you need to just replace it and deprioritize it and move it to the next sprint. Definitely we are going to study about what is prioritization, how we are going to do it, but not in today's video. It will be in the next upcoming videos. Okay. Then the next point is transparency. Now, the process is completely transparent. The customer is aware of what you're doing. Everyone knows what you're doing, and that's the reason the chances of diverting into a different direction or developing something which your customer does not need is very less. So definitely there is complete transparency along with quality improvement. So coming to the next point, that is improve quality. Definitely the quality is top notch when both the customer and the client and the team is working together. Easy delivery, because when you are in this process, so the chances of you getting diverted from the original path is very less, and that's the reason we have easy delivery. Immediate ROI, because when you are giving demo to the customer, the customer need not wait till the end of 6 months. He can immediately assess the returns at the end of the first month itself, when they get the chance to see the demo. So that is when they immediately realize that yes, they are going to get a huge return on investment seeing your progress. Now we have discussed so many things. We have also discussed about waterfall. Let's see what is the difference between agile and waterfall. Number one is process. Number two is metrics. Now, how the process is different? Now, when it comes to process, as you know, I already showed you that in waterfall, things are in a very sequential manner. So where you are going for requirements, then you are designing, implementation, testing, maintenance. So in that, implementation covers your development phase, right? And under requirements, when you say, the analysis phase also comes in, right? But when it comes to agile, things are a bit different. It's an iterative process, okay, where you are doing the same things over and over again. So you're planning, you are defining, you're designing, you're testing, you're deploying, and then again after you're deploying, you're again giving the your client a demo, and then based on their feedback, you're again planning, again defining, again designing, again testing, and then you're again deploying. So what happens is, when you're doing such a thing, the process becomes easier, and your product development becomes much faster. The next is the metrics. Now, as you can see over here, waterfall is a plan driven, where the requirements are fixed, but the resources and time are, there is a chance that these two might overshoot, because you have not you have just set the requirements, but these are just some numbers which you have maybe decided at the start of the project, but by the time you proceed further, you might see that things might get overshoot because of lack of planning or lack of project execution. It might be any reason, but it happens. Okay. Now, when it comes to agile, we have a different structure. So we have our resources and our time fixed, but we do not fix the requirements. There is a definitely a delta over there, where we have the option to actually get more requirements, take in more features, and that is the reason agile is more value driven and not plan driven. So in agile, since it is value driven, the quality of the product is much better when it comes to agile as compared to waterfall. Now that we have understood what is agile in a simple fashion, let's understand what was the origin of agile, how did it come into place, and what is Agile Manifesto. You can understand Agile Manifesto is nothing but the Bible based on which Agile is based, right? And it is something which is followed across, but definitely over the years, Agile Manifesto has been changed or tweaked to a lot extent, because many of the things that are mentioned in Agile Manifesto do not actually hold good when it comes to practical project execution. So there have been changes. Things have really been tweaked by companies whenever they work, right? So which is definitely accepted. But yes, these are the base values based on which any agile project runs. So it was created by people from different process backgrounds in the year 2001 at Valley Ranch in USA. Now, Agile Manifesto has certain values which all of us need to understand if really we want to execute Agile. Now, the number one value which Agile says is individuals and interactions over process and tools. So, your major focus should be on your customers, not on the process and tools. Your focus should be majorly on the individuals and interactions. The more you interact with your customer, with your client, the more better product you will be able to design for them. So that is the number one thing which Agile tells you to do. The next thing is working software over comprehensive documentation. Agile never believes in heavy documentation. So in Waterfall, we have a lot of documentation involved where you have to maintain documents and you need to do it so that people can refer to them. But in Agile, the major focus is working software. It is never on comprehensive documentation. Comprehensive documentation can be kept at a lower priority and working software at a higher priority. So you cannot compromise with software development, uh, like as compared to you can definitely compromise with the documentation side. Okay. The third point is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Now, as I said, that this is a continuous feedback process. So there is more customer collaboration as compared to Waterfall, right? And here, Agile also tells the same, that you need to collaborate with your customer more as compared to understanding what is going to get covered in the contract. Because usually, when it comes to waterfall model, where the requirements are fixed, so contract negotiation is something of prime importance, because once the contract is finalized, you cannot divert or you cannot include extra items. But in Agile, this is not the case. Final and the most important is responding to change over following a plan. So as I already showed you that in case of Waterfall, we follow a sequential process, a plan, right? But in case of Agile, it is not so. We change. If we need a change to develop our product, definitely we respond to the change. Now that we have understood what is Agile Manifesto, the last topic for the day is understanding what are the different Agile principles. Now there are 12 principles which we are going to talk about, and these principles are something which I think any person who goes for an Agile role, or even if let's say tomorrow you go for an Agile interview, if you have these 12 principles in your mind, then be rest assured that any question, and you know how to apply them, be rest assured that any question you get from the interviewer, you'll be able to answer it with proper reasoning. So coming to the first principle, that is satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery. I think we all know that now, because when you are showing them continuous demos and you are giving them, after every iteration you are giving them a working prototype of the product, definitely you are satisfying the customer through early and continuous delivery. Number two is welcome changing requirements even late in the development. So Agile believes in that. Agile does not believe in fixing up requirements. So you should welcome changing requirements. Even when you are at the last stage of deployment, even then you should entertain a change in requirement if that is a must. Number three is deliver working software frequently. So as I said, it's an iterative process. So you have to deliver working software frequently. because when you deliver working software, then only you'll get a feedback which will help you prepare for the next iteration and which will bring you closer to your final product. The next is business people and developers work together daily. So as I said, here the client engagement or the collaboration with the client is more. So that's the reason the business, the people or the clients directly work with our technical team or the developers so that the product that is required from them is being delivered on the particular timelines. The fifth principle is build projects around motivated individuals by providing them ideal environment to work in. So when the team is owning the product, when the team is cross-functional, when they are happy, definitely the environment will be good. It will there will be an environment where people will get a chance to learn more, explore more, and that is when you can build a good quality project. The sixth principle is convey information via face-to-face conversation. So here, when we say this, we mean that during the agile process, it's not just about documenting in emails. It's always about face-to-face interaction. So we have stand-up calls, we have SOS calls where there are different teams that interact. There are calls where during a sprint review, when the demo happens, there is an interaction with the client. Continuous interaction happens. So when there is face-to-face conversation, the information is better conveyed, and that is how you will be able to better understand the requirements of your clients. Working software is the primary measure of progress. So not like others where the primary, you are not sure till the end whether your product will work or not, but you are just in the process of creating the software. But here, from the first iteration itself, you are creating working software, which is the primary measure of your progress, not anything else. Maintain a constant pace indefinitely. So this is very much required. There is a term which you will very soon learn, that is velocity. Now, when it's a very important terminology when it comes to agile. So you need to ensure that you are maintaining a constant pace. That is, you are developing products in a proper way and in a continuous manner. Give continuous attention to technical excellence. So that is very much required when I said that the teams are cross-functional. So when you have cross-functional teams, that means people are skilled in multiple skill sets. You have T-shaped, you have pie-shaped, you have com-shaped professionals. That is when you can develop good quality products. The 10th principle is simplify. Maximizing the amount of work not done. That is, when you are in this process, you need to understand that simplification is the key. So you need to simplify the process. You need to ensure that the work that is not done is given the maximum priority and is prioritized accordingly. The 11th and the last but one principle is teams self-organize. That is, teams have to self-organize. They have to take care of their project. They have to cross skills themselves, and they are taking the ownership of whatever actions they do, how they are going to deliver it. So that is when you are giving them the authority and that confidence to commit to you the deadlines by which they are going to deliver the project. The last principle, and one of the most important principles, is teams retrospect and tune behavior. So when when you take any aspect of life, the biggest important thing is learning. And here as well, when it comes to agile, we have sprint retrospective sessions where the teams get a chance to introspect their efforts, their actions, and see whether they were working in the right way or there is definitely a scope for improvement. And if yes, definitely the next sprint is there for them to apply those processes or those gaps, to recover those gaps, and so that the process is as smooth as possible. So here we have discussed about all these things, and we are going to discuss in the subsequent videos about what Agile is in detail, including the different Agile methodologies, the Agile Manifesto, how it works, different Agile ceremonies. We are also going to cover different case studies where we are going to discuss about how the Agile, practically, how an Agile project really functions. So stay tuned to the channel. For the next topic, we are going to discuss about Agile ceremonies, which is going to be very important. So please subscribe and hit that bell icon if you really do not want to miss it. So thank you so much for joining in till now, watching the entire video. Have a good day. Bye-bye.